Welcome, guys. This is the interview on Shine Comics with Chip Zdarsky. And I don't like just like I don't know where to start. Like, just introduce yourself. Honestly, like I don't even want to do it.
Hi, I'm Chip. I make comics.
Yeah, like where do we start though? Where do we start? Like what you've done? Like, I mean, we could talk about public domain, Daredevil, Batman. I mean,
Yeah, it's a lot. I did a comic signing in Oakland a few days ago, and they laid out all my comics on a couple of tables, and I was just like, first of all, can I swear on this?
yeah, you're good.
Okay, I was just like, fuck, I've written too many books. Like
Yeah,
the tables were covered. I'm like, I've been doing this like 10 years,
yeah,
like
that's
11, I guess 11 years at this point, because Sex Criminals was my first kind of big book as an artist, and then. And yeah, it just feels like I've maybe done too much in those 11 years.
yeah, it's crazy. Like it's crazy that you got like into the because you write so good. Like it's crazy that like you've only been writing for 10 years, like and like into the medium. It seems like you've been doing it forever.
I mean, I obviously I read comics a lot, especially growing up, and I spent before comics, I spent about 12 years working at a newspaper, and
Yeah.
I think that was an amazing training ground for comics because the deadline was every day. Whether I was drawing or writing or whatever, graphics, videos, like you had to do it every day, and they taught me to write succinctly. Like I remember the first thing I sent into an editor that I was going to write. I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to write this comedy piece. It's going to be amazing." And it was like 1,000 words, and the editor chopped it down to 300. I was like, "But my precious jokes!" And he was like, "No, like these are readers who are on the subway on their way to work. Like you
Yeah.
can't, you're not going to hold them for 1,000 words. It's got to be like short bursts." And comics is all about that. Like you see some comics where the writing just takes up the whole page, and it's like
Right.
they don't quite get it. So yeah, it was good training ground, I think. So
Yeah.
when I made the transition, it was like, okay, yeah, I get it. I get it.
Yeah, and like now you have your own newspaper now. Like it's crazy how it goes like full circle. Like guys,
Yeah,
Chip
yeah,
News, you have to get it from your little comic shop. Like it's
yeah.
phenomenal. It's so good.
I've been having so much fun with that. It really reminds me of working at the newspaper and doing magazine stuff back in the day. I think I enjoy it more than I enjoy writing the books now because I'm just like I get super excited. It's gonna be a friend, and I'm gonna do graphics, I'm gonna design it and do illustrations, and it's all under my control. And yeah, I just got copies of issue 4, and it looks good. And I'm like, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, that's all. It's like it's kind of weird how much I like your art because I don't like you're supposed to be a writer, but like I'm like you're supposed to be a writer, but like your art and I'm gonna be honest, like the more I don't know if it's just because I like you, like, but I just I love your art so much now. Like it's so
Awesome.
yeah, like every like the Daredevil pages that you do, the Batman pages that you've done, like we need you to do more covers because I remember you posted like a promo
Yeah,
for Joker Year One, and I was like,
yeah.
dude, I need to get that cover, but then it wasn't a variant.
I know they were gonna make it like a foil variant, and then they realized like, oh, it's too dark for a foil. Like it just wouldn't
Oh,
work,
yeah.
and so they just ended up not doing a variant with it. I know it. I got like I saw some comps for Joker Year One, the trade, and like I guess if they use it in there as like a design element, but I love doing covers. Like it's so much fun, and I I wish I had time to do more because that's the other thing. It's just like when you're writing as much as I am and drawing public domain, it's hard to say
Right.
yes to cover gigs.
Yeah, 100%. And speaking of public domain, we might as well just get straight into that.
Yeah, sure.
That is one of my. That's probably well. I have a really hard time picking. Well, the only thing I came up with a favorite of is you being my favorite writer. But in terms of like,
Oh yeah,
in terms of comics that I like, I can't really pick like a favorite. But public domain, I just like it's just so special to me. Like it it,
thanks.
it feels intimate in a weird way, like from a comic fan perspective, because like
Yeah,
seeing like when you like look at like the news or like see what like comic writers go through with like their creations. I mean, just a couple of days ago, Donnie Cates and Ryan Stegman
yeah,
with Venom The Last Dance, and like I remember saying that like I was just so like angry about it. I was like, wow, because like these creations are like a lot. They mean a lot. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And I definitely want to see. everyone get, their fair compensation for it. So, um, do
It,
you
it,
think? Well, good.
I was just gonna say it's harder and harder, especially now and going forward, to receive that level of compensation.
Right.
Just because the entertainment industry as a whole is like, I wouldn't say collapsing in on itself, but there's definitely like there's less money coming in,
Yeah.
and so who are they going to cut? They're going to cut people that don't technically need to get paid. So
Yeah.
comic creators are definitely there. Like even like streaming, like songwriters, like they're making almost nothing on Spotify. Like it's all, yeah. We've been trained to accept less money now. I think for things that we create. So it's yeah, it's a tricky situation.
Yeah, like I made a post about the whole like Ryan Stegman and Donny K Stick, is somebody who's like, well, they don't own the characters. It's Marvel that owns the characters, and I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, but who created the characters? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I just feel like you guys definitely like with public domain specifically. Is that like, do you feel that's the most personal comic that you've wrote, like, or the most like emotional in a way or something?
Yeah, it's funny the way it came about is I do a podcast called Manga Splaining,
Yeah,
where myself and a bunch of friends get together and we talk about manga. And I was the newbie to manga, and they were the industry experts, and we'd read new books every week and learn about manga. And one thing I noticed reading all this manga is there are so many Japanese comics that are just kind of purely what the creator is interested in. It seems like you read a series about ping pong, you read a series about golf, or a series about cooking rice, or like radio DJs, like kind of stuff you don't really do here in North American comics. North American comics tend to be like, oh, it's superheroes meets elves, or it's vampires meets western. Like it's always just genre bashing.
yeah.
But the Japanese comics seem to be about interests, and so I stopped and I thought, I'm like, well, what are my interests? And I had the very sad realization that it's just comics. Like
But same here.
I
Like,
don't, I don't really. I mean, I enjoy things, but like my all of my friends have hobbies. A lot of it revolving around music, and I play piano, but like it's not really a passion. And so I was like, oh, okay, comics. But I love the history of comics. I love reading any interview with an old creator,
yeah,
any kind of history of the companies. The Sean Howe Marvel book that came out a few years ago is so good. And so it came from that. And like I've known people who have like had those kind of deals where their characters become, big movie icons, and they had to fight for some extra money. And in a lot of those cases, it's resolved well. In some cases, it's not.
yeah,
So that's definitely because in the back of my head, like myself personally, um, I'm coming into comics from a different place because one, I came in older. I was 38 when I started drawing sex
wow.
criminals. Um, yeah, I won like best newcomer at 38. I'm like, oh, all right, I'm okay with that. But Sex Criminals was a success, and it was a success on a level where I was kind of taken care of with that book.
Yeah,
Like I often say that Sex Criminals pays for my house, and Marvel and DC pays for my groceries. Like that's kind of the difference there, right?
right.
Um, because I had that, I'm a bit more comfortable with the deal with DC and Marvel. Like I know if Electro shows up as Daredevil in the TV show, like what am I going to get? Check for $5,000, an invite to the premiere, shake some hands, like that's it.
Yeah,
I'm fine with that because that I knew that going in, and also, um, if I just created a character who ended up taking the mantle of another person, like that wouldn't sell, that wouldn't be a thing. But because it's Daredevil, it is. Or like if failsafe became a thing in a
yeah,
movie, um, I don't really expect much from that because I'm like, yeah, but like it's Batman that's selling that, and I didn't create Batman. So many people have worked on Batman and built it up. Like it's hard to like, it's getting harder to kind of figure out um, the creative origins of things because you're building off the work of so many other people. Like I don't even know how they disseminate in a new Marvel movie or DC movie, like who to be credited for what, because like, okay, this person credited for creating that character, but that character is based on this character and
yeah,
wouldn't have succeeded without that, so we should credit them. And like, there's so much that goes into these. Not excusing the companies. Like, I think creators need to be paid better at the source. Like, they should be paid better as writers and artists. Like,
right.
they should have, especially at a certain level. It's like you should you should be very comfortable and not be scrambling for work. Um, and that payment is also towards if it turns into something else, right? Like the costume designer on a movie, at least I don't think they get paid every time that character shows up as
Yeah.
a toy, right? But the hope is because they're unionized, they get paid really well doing their job as the costume designer.
Right.
So that's part of the understanding. Like, oh yeah, I get paid a big lump sum, and then if it does really well, maybe it becomes well, it shows up on posters and ends up as toys. But like, I'm okay with that because I got paid well for it. So I think that's the big thing. Just instead of paying comic creators poorly and then having this kind of weird battle when something takes off, so they don't end up destitute, they should pay comic creators very well, knowing that these things could eventually become huge, right?
Yeah, 100%. Like every comic creator should be able to like at least make a stable living doing what they do and not having to
Hmm.
consistently overwork themselves. So,
Yeah. So
yeah.
so that's kind of my into public domain, but also I just like I wanted to make sure that wasn't just like it's not a legal battle comic. It's not a comic specifically about the ills of the comic industry. It's about families and what can happen when kind of a career takes over a family.
Yeah.
I just sent issue 10 off to some comic friends, and it really delves into the idea of like kind of overworking and like giving your entire life to a thing that you don't own and like what that does to your family, what that does to you.
Yeah.
So it's personal on that level because I'm an overworker and I always have to keep that in check. And my dad was growing up, he was always very stressed about money and kind of focused on work and providing for the family, and maybe was a bit distant as a result. So there's a lot that kind of goes into a book like Public Domain. I'm pulling from all sorts of sources, whether it's Matt Fraction and Ed Brubaker and their kind of stories about the industry, or like histories that precede them, or my own personal experiences. Yeah, there's a lot that goes into a book like that. So yeah, I'm really glad you like it. Like it's definitely like the most important thing I've done, I think, for myself,
Yeah.
next to Sex Criminals.
Yes, it is so good. And like, I need a movie to be made out of this, and I've said it like, and I've said it. If Image doesn't do it, I'm gonna do it myself. I'm gonna make a fan film out of it. Like I'm gonna like crowdfund it seriously because I keep seeing
Uh,
like these crowdfunded movies on like Superman, Spider-Man, like all of these, even Green Lantern one is going on, and like they look really good. And I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah.
okay, so like you're making a fan film like with all of this CGI and stuff and like these big heroes. There's no way we can make a fan film about public domain where like there's no CGI, there's no like epic
Uh,
space cosmos like
I think you're summing it up right there. Why it won't be a movie, because it doesn't have any of the stuff people want. Um,
yeah.
yeah, no, it's a comic that's purely a comic. Like, I have a Hollywood agent, and I send him the issues, but I'm just like, th- not that it's unfilmable, but like, there's just I don't think there's enough excitement and drama um, around people drawing comics to sustain a movie or a TV show. I mean, I'd love to be proven wrong. Um, part of my dream, because we did the spin-off, The Domain, which is the comic that
Yeah,
they're
love
making,
that series.
and part of my idea was like, oh, it'd be so fun to make it like Public Domain's like a Succession style TV show, and then The Domain is like an animated show
Yeah.
that they refer to, so it kind of goes back and forth that way. Like they're making that animated show,
Right. Oh
you
yeah,
know.
that's good.
It does, because it doesn't even necessarily have to be comics, but yeah, but it's so outside the realm of possibility, I think, which I'm fine with. Like this is a comic about comics.
Yeah, for sure.
I,
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm fine with it just being a comic. Like because like the art is so good, the writing. Could you kind of like tell us a bit about like obviously issue 7 dropped this month, right?
okay, yeah,
Yeah, because like I read them all early. Guys, go subscribe to Chip Zdarsky Substack, please. You pay it's like $35 for an entire year. You get to read all of it. So
yeah. I'm
great
dropping
deal.
issue 9 on there this week, I think. Um, yeah, yeah.
Yes, please go subscribe to that. And I'm still buying the physical releases because like I mean
Thanks.
I love physical media, but
That's
um
awesome.
please go buy that. And like could you kind of explain what the next issue is going to be about, kind of for issue
Well,
9?
I'm all turned around on it because I've worked on them so far in advance that I'm just like,
You
They're
kind of
like, "Oh, wait,
forget.
what happens in issue 9?" But issue 9 is about my version of San Diego Comic Con.
Yeah.
So it's all about the crew going and having to sell the book to the public. But they're in competition with the other comic company, Singular, which is also putting out their domain comic. Um, so yeah, it's about those worlds kind of colliding and the pressures of having to sell at a convention. Um, and then yeah, there's family drama that I don't want to get too far into because there's some surprises there.
Ooh.
But yeah, I mean it's super fun just because, and also too much work. Like, why did I set it at a comic convention? Like, I have to draw
All
so
this,
many
yeah.
people and booths. I mean, that's part of the fun. Like on Sex Criminals, part of my job and part of the fun of that book was me drawing little jokes in the background. So there are a lot of those in issue 9 of Public Domain. Um, yeah, and it's a bit of a bigger issue as well as a result of it. Yeah, but I'm such a stupid writer for making myself like the artist in me is angry at me, the writer,
Oh
for
yeah,
making it
yeah.
a bigger issue with like hundreds of people.
Yeah, well, everyone watching, like, go buy Public Domain, please. Like, it is such a great story. It is
Appreciate it.
phenomenal. And speaking of artists, I guess we could start talking about Batman. What's it like working with Jorge Jimenez?
It is the most frustrating thing I can
Oh,
possibly imagine. He
wow.
is so fast, so talented, so handsome, so nice, so just ripped. Like,
I
like
have a great story to tell you about, like the finish, but like you're gonna love it. But go ahead.
well, he's just like, yeah. When I finally met him, I met him at a show in Barcelona, and I was like, oh, you're a god. Oh, okay, I get it. And like just being in photos next to him is so hard because I'm like, everyone looks like a troll next to him, and he just
Yeah,
like,
man, it's so like I literally because listen, you and Jorge, like you guys are my Batman is my favorite. It's been my favorite ongoing series for like the past. It's crazy that you've been writing Batman for 2 years. These 2 years
I
feel like they
know,
flew by.
yeah,
Um,
jeez,
yeah, it's so weird. And you've written because you started 125 and now we're on.
125,
So you 27 issues?
152.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just sent in issue 158, I think 57.
Wow. Yeah. So you've written in real time. You've written like a lot, almost 60. But one's currently out like what was 60? I'm so stupid. Like 33, 34. I don't know. My math's
Yeah,
bad, but you've
it's
written
been
a
a
lot of
while.
Batman. Um,
Yeah,
and so like you guys are my favorite duo, like I said, and I want to see you guys like do more, work together. Like, would you be down to like do
I would
different character with him? With Jorge?
I would follow Jorge anywhere. I know he's got a very not secret desire to work on Superman once he's done with Batman.
Mm,
And I have told DC that put me in that lineup like 100%. Like there's a lineup of like probably a dozen writers who
want to do it?
would want to do Superman with Jorge. So I'm just like throw my name in the ring. If the timing works, then I would 100% do it.
Yeah.
He's so good, and like every morning almost like I wake up to a new page of art from him,
Wow.
and it's beautiful. And I'm like, how does he do it?
Yeah, like he's and his covers too. Like his covers are
Yeah,
he might be like him and Jim Lee are my favorite Batman cover artists. Like
yeah,
his
yeah.
his cover art is so good. But like to go my story, like I posted which I don't use Reddit anymore, but like a few months back I posted that like I thought it was so funny. I posted a picture of you and Jorge at New York Comic Con, and I pretty much said like this is my favorite duo working in comics right
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
And someone commented saying whenever I see him, it's just so mind-boggling how attractive he is. Like, like nerds have this, like people usually see nerds as like just regular, like unattractive people or whatever. But like when I see him,
Yeah.
it's crazy to see a model being such a high level creative in comics. And then a person said, and Jorge also looks like he's doing fine. It
Yeah,
was
yeah, yeah.
it was so funny. And then
Uh,
I replied to the person, not always just laughing. I was like, that's hilarious. And the person said, I want to double dip the chip.
Woo! Hot damn.
Yeah, it
Um,
was
yeah,
hilarious.
he's so beautiful that like I did a panel with him where one of the questions was like, if you weren't doing comics, what would you do?
Hmm.
And my answer was very basic. I was like, I used to work at a hardware store when I was younger, and I really liked that. It's helping
Hmm.
people fix things. Feels like a helpful thing. And Jorge was just, he's got some broken English, so he's just like, if I was not doing comic books, I would be an actor, I guess.
Actor.
And I'm like, of course, because you're just like, you're beautiful. You could easily just walk onto a movie set, and they would like
Right.
throw you in the movie. It was such a funny, just like juxtaposition. I'd be like, I'd work on a hardware store, and he'd be like an A-level actor.
Yeah, like I mean, maybe I mean, he could play Batman, and you could be Robin, like in a new
There
movie.
you go. I think I'm more of the Alfred age at this point, but yeah, I'd
Yeah,
take
well,
it. I'd take it.
yeah, for sure. So like to talk about Batman, man, like every
Yeah,
arc is just so phenomenal. It's like, dang,
nice.
which one do I talk about? So like
Yeah,
I think oh go
it's
ahead.
kind of weird because I don't really break in my mind. I don't break them into arcs, like because I'm telling kind of one big story, and so
Yeah.
DC's just like, okay, how many issues is this arc? I'm like, I don't know, 5, 6. I just kind of look at it, I'm like, where's a good point for it to switch over? Um, because yeah, I just see it as one big story, and I just like I love making each issue kind of relentless and like yeah,
Yeah,
always
for
moving.
Yeah, for sure. Like I feel like my top three favorite like one issue like in the series probably well all three of them are like oversized ones 125, 135, and
Oh yeah, yeah,
one was it 148, 148. Those are like my
okay,
three
yeah,
favorites. So I guess we could kind of talk about those three but starting with
yeah,
135 because that one's like I feel like that one's like a fan favorite because of how grand and epic it is.
yeah.
So like I feel like after reading your Substack, for months, it seems like you're a pretty big fan of Arkham Batman. Like, am I right about that?
Yeah, I lost a lot of my life to playing those games.
Yeah, I
Like
love them.
basically like I try not to play video games because I know it just like ruins me. Like that's all I think about. Um but yeah, the Arkham games are just so good. Like I play them
Yeah,
all to completion because I'm just like yeah, those and like the Marvel Spider-Man games are just like just top level games.
100%. Like I
Yeah.
loved it. And like seeing him appear because like that those games is what got me into comics. Like
Oh really?
that's what made
Oh
me
cool.
want to read comics. I started by reading the Arkham comics that were set in the game universe.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and then that's what got me into like the mainline comics. But in 135, Arkham Batman has like such a very pivotal moment where he literally tells main continuity Bruce that like if you get the chance to kill Joker, like please do it immediately.
Mhm.
So like I kind of want to ask what made you choose like out of all of the multiversal Batman, what made you choose Arkham Batman? Like what made you feel like Arkham Batman had to deliver like such a great line?
I mean, just because I knew so much of the storyline was about Joker, and in the Arkham games, that relationship with Joker is so amped up
Yeah,
uh, that it just made sense. And just because I'm such a fan, like
yeah,
as a geek, just the opportunity to put him in just for a panel or two is like I couldn't turn away. And like knowing he could give that kind of monologue, that soliloquy to Batman,
yeah,
um, uh, yeah, yeah, as a contrast to like Dark Knight Returns Batman who shows up later and talks about how he had the chance and he didn't, but like, that's kind of Batman's whole deal. Um yeah, yeah, it just made sense to me. And like the funny thing about that issue was, I had this plan to do like a multiversal thing, and then I kind of ran all the characters by DC, and like most of them I couldn't use for more than one or two panels.
that was actually my next question because like I've seen you in past interviews say like that you wanted to include more. Like, could you say
Yeah.
all of the Batman you wanted to put in, but were like couldn't go in at all?
No, I mean the only one that I think you're just absolutely not allowed to do is all the Christopher Nolan Batman things.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, yeah, I think that's the only one that's absolutely verboten, like off limits. Um, but the rest were just like you could only use one or two panels for Adam West Batman, Batman '89, Arkham Batman. I think that's the rest. Like basically, if they didn't kind of originate in the comics, and I don't know the reasoning. Like there's lawyers involved,
yeah,
but I think DC Publishing is allowed to have them as long as it could be considered a cameo, and cameo to them is like one to two panels. That's it.
yeah,
And a lot of times you can't make them look like the actors. Like Jorge had to redraw Joker in the Batman '89 section several times
yeah.
until he looked just nothing like Jack Nicholson.
Is that why he had the red eyes?
No, I mean the red eyes was just kind of like a red mask kind of continuity thing throughout.
Oh,
but all the features changed to be a bit more kind of traditional Joker because, and I don't know. I think maybe it triggers a payment. I think that's what it is. It's always money, right?
Yeah.
Like if these characters show up too much, then all of a sudden the people who created the originals will probably get more money sent their way. So yeah. So the multiversal story is part of the reason why I had it, where he's bouncing in time, kind of uncontrollably, just so I could do that. So I could just have two panels, and then he gets pulled away with each kind of character.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it made it challenging to write, but like I like the puzzle, like figuring out the puzzle of all that was super
Yeah.
fun, and how each Batman could like add a thing to the story, or like an item or a costume or the utility
The
belt
shark
from the
repellent.
Adam
Yeah.
West one. Yeah, yeah,
Awesome.
exactly. Yeah, yeah, that was super fun to write. And like
Yeah.
Jorge again, like in the script I said you don't imitate the styles. Like that's too much work. Just do it in your own style and people will figure it out. And he's like, no, no, I gotta do it in all these styles.
Yeah. Like I
So
love
like
how passionate he is. Like he's genuinely like passionate about all of this stuff. Like it's
yeah,
crazy.
he really is. And like the amount of work it takes to like make an Alex Ross Bruce Wayne.
Oh my god. Yeah, that panel
Like
was fire. Like, whoa. I can't believe
yeah.
he did that.
Even the simple ones like animated series Batman, like you really got to study that because if it's off even a slight amount, like people will be like, yeah, it's not quite it.
Yeah, it looks straight from and I said this
Yeah.
before and like people were so mad at me, but I said like, hey, like Jorge's imitation of these other art styles, like something in me almost likes his imitation more than the original. Like it's just so it is
He's so yeah,
he's
he can
great.
do anything. And like even when I came on board the book and I was inheriting Jorge, I was a little worried because I'm just like, oh, it doesn't feel like a fresh new start when you have the same artist.
Yeah.
So I just kind of said to him like, yeah, let's go a little bit darker with your stuff on this, just to
I
kind of break
noticed
it up. And
that. Yeah, because yeah, I
yeah,
was
and he
reading I
nailed
was
it.
reading Tinian's run and I'm noticing like the sky isn't really black. It's like kind of like more like orange, like it's more
Yeah,
not it,
like
but
the Tinian and Jorge on their run, Batman was a bit more kind of like a little poppy, like
right.
like Gotham felt like a techno city in a lot of
Yeah,
ways, and
exactly.
whereas I wanted to have him a bit more in the shadows, a bit darker. And Jorge just adjusted his style for it. Like he's just that good. It's wild. It's
Yeah.
wild to see.
Yeah, like it's man, that issue was like it's like one of the best. You have so many. It's so weird. You have so many like single issues that are just like so great. But I am curious. A lot of people were wondering why did Arkham Batman have? Because like you notice you put well obviously I'm guessing you wrote in the story he has the Arkham City suit instead of the Arkham Knight one. Like was there like a reason you decided on that suit?
No, no, I think Jorge just picked it.
Oh, for
Like I
real?
basically just said Arkham Batman, and I just kind of left it to him. And I think he just looked at the suits and was just like, okay, that's the one I want to draw.
Okay. I mean, hey,
So
I mean he's Jorge. I don't care. Like that's
Well, I
all.
mean, like, and I justify it just like, oh, Batman's got a closet.
Right.
He'll put on whatever suit he wants for that moment. Maybe the other suit got destroyed and he went back to a more original. Yeah, yeah, continuity stuff like that. I'm like, when it shows up in the art, I'm just like, yeah, I'm not going to get him to change it because I'm just like, you can justify it in your head, no problem.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
And I kind of like having that room for headcanon because like I love like
yeah,
when I'm just bored in the day, like I would just like I would have these weird fantasies of like I wonder how this character did that. Like I wonder how like if there's like a plot thread that wasn't all the way finished, I'll be like I
yeah,
just make something up in my head of like how this happened. So
hmm
like I love having that room to do
yeah,
that. But like you said, like how your run was like kind of just Batman being in the shadows and that kind of goes to oh my goodness, one of my favorite. You are so good at line deliveries, man. Like you have like
oh,
you're known
thanks.
for it too. Like people I know you're not that much on social media, but people literally talk
Yeah.
about how much they love like you have the most badass lines for these characters. Like
Thanks.
like in 125 when like the criminal in like near the beginning when like he had killed like the couple I forgot their name
Oh yeah, yeah,
but
the
like
millionaire couple. Yeah,
yeah, he was like, oh my god, and Batman appeared out of shadows, and he was like, not God, not even close. Like I was geeked out. Like it's
yeah, yeah.
how do you come up with
I
those
mean,
lines?
they're just yeah, I don't know. They're just fun to make. So you just think about it, like, what's the badass thing that could happen here? And I got a few of those in Daredevil as well. Um, um, yeah, yeah. It's just fun. I like that beat of just like just before the beat down happens. just like that
Yo,
cold delivery, you know.
that brings
Yeah,
back to 135 when like he like right before he just backhanded knocked Red Mask out, he said you could have been anything else. Like he went on a whole like monologue like saying
yeah,
like a helper, a philanthropist. Um
yeah,
and that issue, like that arc like I feel like it's underrated, like the Batman of Gotham. Because like it's so interesting. Like you see how kind of insecure Batman feels about himself, like in that instance with Red Mask, because he's like you could tell like he kind of fed into what some people said, like, well, if there were no Batman, there'd be no Joker, there'd be no criminals. But he finds out that even in a world where Batman didn't exist, there's still
yeah,
crime and it's worse. So like I
yeah.
loved how you kind of like almost in a way gave like a commentary on like people who think that without Batman the world would be safer or Gotham would be safer.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that was part of the point for sure. And the other thing I wanted to do with that arc was kind of pay off the promise that like James and Jorge kind of put forward in their run,
Yeah.
because they stripped Bruce of all of his money.
Right.
But like we were saying earlier about the technological looking Gotham of those books, like it still felt like he was rich, right?
Right.
Because like all the gadgets are still there, and the Batmobile, Batplane, or whatever. Like it never seemed to diminish the character or have him have to like figure out new ways. And so with the Batman Gotham arc, I wanted to really put him in a position where it's like, oh no, he's got to go to the hardware store and like get what's needed to like fight these guys. Like it's really Batman just starting over from a street level, and kind of working his way up there, which is super fun. And Mike Hawthorne is so good at like kind of hyper detailed, kind of realistic looking suits and cars and buildings,
Yeah.
that it was a perfect art for him. Yeah, and gave Jorge a much needed break.
Yeah, facts. And Hawthorne, like his art is like his the absolute power issues he's doing now. Like I think
Oh
it's the
yeah,
best his art has ever been. Like I
yeah,
love it. It's phenomenal.
it's
Um,
so good.
and I love how you're constantly like, because like you worked on Daredevil with Mike Hawthorne, and how you're like
Hmm.
bringing him back like now like on Batman. Like I
Yeah.
love how you kind of work with the people you worked with before.
Yeah, yeah. Even like Rafael de la Torre, like he also helped out on Daredevil. Like you know, not not that I did it myself completely, but I got him on Penguin with Tom King, because like we'd finished Daredevil. I'm just like, and they needed more artists over at DC. I'm just like, well, Rafael de la Torre, like he was so good on Daredevil filling in, and so they found him a good spot on Penguin, and I think that book really succeeds because of him, his consistency. He's so good.
Yeah, 100%, man.
Yeah.
So like to kind of talk about Dark Prisons, I feel like Dark Prisons, it was so each issue, like I was just so riled up. I was so like
Awesome.
happy and excited. Um, so to kind of like Dark Prisons really cements your ability to get us to emotionally connect with a character, because I've said it so many times before, and like people will like flame me and call me crazy, but I agree with Felsafe's plans. I agree with Zer's plans. I make that very clear. Like because like Zer and Daniel Capsio, like that's such a like amazing villain that he
Oh,
created
cool.
like all the way back in the night. But I agree with Felsafe's plans to get rid of crime, but I'm rooting for Batman. I'm rooting for Bruce. And it's
Yeah.
like I came to that realization a couple weeks ago. I'm like, wow. So throughout this entire arc, I disagree with Batman's way of solving crime, but I'm still rooting for him. I want him to win. And like
Yeah.
it shows your entire point of the entire story. Like because like Bruce Wayne, you're able to emotionally connect with. Like he still has that empathy, that compassion
Yeah.
that Zerd doesn't have. That's why like I still root for Bruce. So like I when I realized, I was like, wow, like he's so good at getting us to emotionally connect with a character and root for them.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, yeah. The failsafe Zer stuff is like the end result is absolute power, right?
Yeah,
Because if you don't have empathy, you eventually kind of become a dictator.
exactly.
Uh,
Injustice Superman.
yeah, yeah, and then you take away people's ability to like actually live their lives.
Right,
Like their fear doesn't become about criminals; it becomes about government and
right.
like the people in charge that are keeping them safe. So yeah, I mean, it was. I enjoy kind of highlighting Bruce's empathy, uh, especially in the later issues, especially with his family, because Batman's not just about stopping crime. He's about like preventing it in terms of, you know, making sure people feel safe and making sure people, have enough to eat and like all the roots of crime.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I kind of ended on that arc, is like, oh yeah, no, Bruce is like the counter to Zero Failsafe is Bruce opening all these nonprofits and like kind of being within Gotham and actually trying to help people, um, before people turn to crime, which I
Exactly.
think
Like
is super
150 is
super
a perfect
important.
example of that.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, 150 was a lot of fun to do.
Yeah, that one's awesome. Yeah, like this entire arc. Well, and I can't say this entire arc because it's not ending. You know what I'm saying? You have
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so much new stuff coming. So to kind of talk about the dying city. When I heard the name, the dying city, the
Mhm.
first thing I thought about was back to 125 when hold on, I want to quote exactly what was said by Bruce. Where Tim Drake is confused of why the rich people of Gotham are still having a gala despite Penguin being on a murder spree, and Batman responds, "It's the hardest part of the job. This city wants to die." And I thought this was
Yeah.
very interesting back when the comic came out, but with your
Mhm.
new arc being called The Dying City, I find it even more interesting. So like, with this arc kind of does Bruce, first of all, does Bruce even really believe this, or was it Zerk corrupting him? Or like, does would this series kind of go on Bruce's, well, would this new arc expand on Bruce's perception of Gotham?
Yeah. So I mean, I think there's definitely a little bit of Zur in that kind of original 125 statement.
Yeah.
But there's also some truth in there too, right? Like,
Right.
um, as a writer, it's hard to justify anyone living in Gotham, right?
Yeah.
After everything it's gone through. So like the idea of people just like kind of falling in step with, the destruction of Gotham and the fact that all these terrible things happen and they're kind of okay with it, or else they leave at some point.
Right. Yeah.
um makes some sense. But like, again, that kind of empathy that kind of built kind of over the course of the run, that culminated in him, like, trying to do better within the city on like a Bruce Wayne level. That's what this next arc is about, where, he's done it, like he's created like these medical centers and, affordable housing and all this stuff, but like there's pushback, and it's like, okay, where's that pushback coming from, and does it mean that Gotham can never be saved?
Yeah.
And if so, like, how much are you willing to fight for it? So yeah, that's kind of the crux of the dying city, um, coupled with a murder mystery that kind of gets to the heart of it as well.
Yeah, I'm so excited for it. So like it so from what you've just said, this next arc is gonna be more grounded and like street level than like the past more fantastical, epic, grand scale ones.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's still like big fights and big things that happen in it, but a lot of it stemmed from my conversations with Jorge, where, he was going full tilt and like, one was it 148,
Yeah. Oh
um,
my goodness.
like just all the characters and just massive stuff and like the army coming in, like there's so much there, so big, so much to draw that, he was just like, he just really wants to do a story that's like self-contained, um, that, isn't wildly big. That's a bit more kind of human focused, and, yeah, something that kind of feels like it's its own thing. And so I told him, like, well, I'm thinking about this, and I kind of presented him the murder mystery, and he's like, oh yeah, no, that's exactly it. So
Yeah, that's awesome.
so it's fantastic. Yeah, yeah. I mean, he's burnt out because he's done he's done a lot, and so he's drawing issue one in, the final issue of the arc, and we've got kind of guest artists, kind of helping out on the middle ones, and some great guest artists. So it's a good looking package.
Yeah, I'm so excited. So so like this series is bi-weekly for like this arc. Will it stay bi-weekly even after, or like, oh, it's just this arc?
No, no, no. It's just this arc, and a lot of it just kind of, the timing just kind of worked out that it kind of had to be that.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, which is good in the sense that like I kind of like it coming out fast, so people, don't have time to like kind of dissect the mystery too much. But also, it would have been nice to be able to do it kind of monthly, because then Jorge would have been able to do more of it.
Right.
But like, there are higher needs at DC that kind of, uh, dictated that we're going to have to do it every 2 weeks. So yeah, I mean it's going to be fun seeing them come out like so quickly,
Yeah.
uh, and also with the great guest artists like yeah Carmine I worked on the night with. He's coming back for an issue, and it's
Yeah, that's awesome.
beautiful. He's so good. Jorge Fornes, who I worked with on Daredevil, he's awesome. Tony Daniel, I've never worked with Tony, but his pages are beautiful. Like,
Yeah, I
yeah,
love what he's
we're
done.
pretty
That's
yeah we're pretty blessed with like some great artists on Batman. It helps that it's Batman. Like, if you say to artists, "Hey, do you want to do an issue of Batman?" Most will put aside whatever they're working on to do it. So
right.
that helps. Yeah.
Yeah, so like is it like for you, I feel like I might know the answer, but like is it more fun writing the more like grounded arcs, like kind of like the Dying City, or the more like grand epic scale stuff?
I mean, they both have their challenges. Um, I like the planning of the big epics, because like kind of figuring out a couple year plan
Right.
on Batman was a lot of fun, and just kind of like piecing that together as a big thing. Um, I kind of like when the two kind of meet. So like Daredevil, that started off very grounded,
Yeah.
but I still had like a plan of a few years where I knew it was going to start off grounded and it was going to end with him like riding a dragon and
Yeah.
falling into hell and like making this massive thing, right? Um, So yeah, it's weird. Yeah, I like both. It's kind of hard to separate them. Um, yeah, the challenge with the smaller, grounded stories is you can't rely on the big set pieces
Yeah.
as much. Um, but that's a fun challenge on its own. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. So like you're introducing a new villain for this new arc. Like, what can you
Mhm.
tell us about like this new villain? Like anything you can't tell us without spoiling. What can you tell us about this new villain you're introducing?
I mean, I mean, the big question is it a villain?
I,
Um,
I mean, yeah, I forgot because the that's why it's kind of sucks getting covers early, like covers released early, because like it's
yeah,
like
yeah.
it shows because you see Batman, fighting, this. But like, what can you tell us about this new character? I say,
Yeah, Commander Star, and I agree. Like, I hate my biggest pet peeve in comics is everyone knowing everything that happens too far
yeah,
in advance.
yeah,
I love keeping things secret. Like, I was able to keep the Elektra's Daredevil thing a secret until the day it came out, and like, it's my proudest moment in comics because everyone was actually surprised instead of spending months debating like who's going to be the new Daredevil. They had no idea it was coming. They had no idea there was going to be a switch like that. And I think it's better to consume entertainment that way, but
I agree.
side note, I had a friend years ago who managed to avoid every spoiler in every trailer for Captain America Civil War. So when
Wow,
he went to the theater and Spider-Man showed up, he's like, "Holy shit, Spider-Man's in this too!" Like he
that's
had no
awesome.
idea. Like I can't even imagine that kind of viewing experience. Um, yeah. So now I forget the question.
Oh
What
yeah,
the
yeah. Like,
follow-up
what can you tell
question
us
is?
about
Oh yeah,
Commander
Commander
Star?
Steel or Commander Star. Um, Yeah, basically, he has come to Gotham, and he is a patriotic hero, and he sees Gotham changing, um, and yeah, he wants to support it in a way that maybe isn't helpful.
Mm,
So it's kind of our take on like kind of a Captain America style character. Like patriotism in Gotham seems like a thing that really isn't explored that much, but Gotham is like it's an American city, and it's like, okay, well, how does America view Gotham, and how does this American view Gotham by going in and seeing what Bruce Wayne is doing on the streets and what Batman is doing on the streets? So yeah, it's a killer design, Jorge.
yeah, I
Yeah, every
love it.
action scene with him is just like is gorgeous. Yeah, and I hope people kind of dig it.
Yeah, I'm super duper excited to see that. And one of the covers also showed like what looks like to be, the Court of Owls.
Yeah,
So you're bringing the Court of Owls back. Like how
yeah.
does that? Okay, can you tell us anything about that, like without spoiling?
Yeah, I mean, I seeded it a little while ago with Vandal Savage becoming commissioner.
Yeah.
Like it seemed pretty clear. I don't think I was too overt with it, but like that the Court of Owls were kind of behind that, kind of backing him for that.
Right.
And the guy that was introduced in the Vandal Savage backups, a guy named Leonid, who's going to be, it's not much of a spoiler to reveal that he's like involved with the Court of Owls. This guy, and and yeah, they have their own opinions on what Bruce Wayne is doing to Gotham. And yeah, so there's kind of like it's the fun part about this arc is like Batman is kind of like he's got challenges from so many different directions in this, from
Right.
kind of from friends, family, yeah, the Court of Owls, Riddler is in it. It was also kind of like
No, I
in a
can't
fight
wait.
with
Riddler.
with
That's
Bruce and Batman. Um, yeah, and getting to explore kind of like Batman side characters that I've never really explored before. Like I've got a lot
mm,
of Jim Gordon stuff in this, which is super fun to write, and Harvey Bullock as well. So yeah, yeah, it's like everything's kind of up against Batman and Bruce in this in different ways. Some of it, is like political, financial. Some of it is like uh, physical. So it's yeah. I think people are gonna like it. Yeah,
yeah,
I've
I'm
enjoyed writing it, and like the art has been fantastic. So
I'm so excited, man. Like
yeah,
everything you've been doing with Batman so far has been just awesome.
thanks.
Like is there any Batman villains that you feel don't get enough love, like, or attention? Like an underrated Batman villain that you like, I guess?
I mean, they're all so good. Like Batman has the best, rogues gallery of villains.
100%.
Um, yeah, I don't think there's anyone that hasn't been used to their kind of their full potential. Um, yeah, I'd have to really think about that. Uh, Sometimes it gets a little tricky. Like I always want to do. I kind of did a little bit of Mister Freeze stuff in Batman Urban Legends. Um, but it's kind of hard. Like sometimes the characters that have like a gimmick, it's like, okay, well, where what can I do with that gimmick that hasn't been done before? Mr.
Yeah.
Freeze and cold and ice and all that. I'm just like, okay, what hasn't been done? And sometimes I get stuck a little bit on that. Like I'll love the character, but I'm just like, okay, the idea hasn't quite come yet.
Right. No, that makes
At least
sense.
nothing good enough to turn into a comic. Um, yeah, I mean, Poison Ivy's not quite a villain anymore,
Yeah,
but I think with the kind of environmental concerns, like she's a lot more fascinating
for sure.
than she once was. Yeah, yeah, I think that's
What
yeah.
do you how do you feel about Anarchy?
Anarchy's cool, but yeah, I don't have a lot to say with Anarchy. Um, yeah, yeah. There's some characters I'm just like I don't have my way into them, and sometimes that just involves me stopping and really giving it proper thought, which I haven't really done with Anarchy yet. Maybe down the line, because yeah, I was like some of my first kind of Batman comics were Anarchy's first appearances.
Yeah, that's
It was like
awesome.
Alan Grant and Norm Brayfogle uh, Batman books. Yeah, yeah. So cool, but yeah, I don't quite have the that thing yet. But sometimes that happens. Like a lot of times, I'll be approached by a company to do a comic, and I'll be like, "Well, I got no ideas for that." And they'll be like, "Think about it," and I go and think about it. I'm like, "Oh, okay, now I have an idea." Like you do enough research and think about a thing long enough, all of a sudden you'll have, the way into that character.
Yeah, 100%. So like there's this other thing I wanted to ask you about. Um, on a comic pop channel, you
Hmm.
did an interview, which you shout out to that, like love the content that they make.
Yeah,
And
they're awesome.
but you were asked one time, "Hey Chip, do you have any toys?" And your reply was, "As a grown ass man with responsibilities, I do not have any toys." And I felt
Yeah.
personally attacked by that. Okay.
Literally everyone in comics felt personally attacked by that. Every writer, every artist, like I am the only person in comics who does not uh, collect things beyond books. The only thing I have, which I probably pointed out there, is a Captain America
That showed
shield,
us fire.
and I bought it for um, I bought it to use it, not to like display it.
I bought to use it.
I bought it for paintball. Me and
Yeah.
some buddies were going to go paintball. I was just like, I need a Captain America shield, and it was like the most fun I've ever had. I was running in the woods, paintballs exploding on that shield. Like, there's no greater feeling than hearing that pop 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 on your shield as you
I mean,
dodge bullets through the forest.
yeah, I understand that shit, but like the reason I feel extra attacked by it though is because you created so many amazing characters in this run, and it's like, where are the figures for like failsafe? I need a failsafe figure. I need a failsafe statue.
I would imagine it's coming at some point. Yeah, there's not a lot I've done that have kind of turned into figures. I don't.
King
Well,
Daredevil.
I did. Yeah, King Daredevil and Elektra as Daredevil.
Yeah.
Those were figures. Um, back when I did Howard the Duck, there were a few kind of Howard the Duck things that came out with our design, but yeah, I haven't really done a lot that's kind of turned into toys. Um, but yeah, I mean, Failsafe is absolutely going to show up as a toy at some point. I mean,
Yeah, I can't
it
wait for
kind of
that.
has to. Yeah,
Need it.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, it'll be cool. Like, I still can't even pull the trigger on it. Like, I was at a comic convention just a little while ago. I took some time away from my table. I was just wandering, and there was like a place selling toys, and they had like Elektra's Daredevil as a toy. And I was like, hmm. I looked at it for a while. And I was like, $25.
That is a lot.
And it was like two for whatever. And I was like, nah. Like, I don't even know what I would do with it. I just don't even. Yeah, I
Not
think
even
one
the
of my.
characters you created?
I know. I'm broken inside. I'm broken inside. I recognize that fact. Um, yeah, I mean, I'm always reminded of. Uh, okay, I'll tell the story without names. There was a comic creator who I really respected, um, and we were taking a shuttle back to a hotel after a convention, and my first time meeting them, and I forget how we started talking about, it, but they created like a very popular character at DC Comics, and I was like, oh, that must be so cool, blah blah blah, He's like, yeah, the unfortunate part is the company DC sends me every time that character gets turned into something, whether it's like a dinner plate or a toy or plushie, whatever. They send me um, one of those products. Like that's part of the deal, right? Like, okay,
Yeah.
you created this character, so we automatically send you this. So he's like, so I've got a garage full of garbage featuring this character that I don't own, that I don't feel properly compensated for.
Yeah.
So every time he gets another package, it's just another reminder of the character that's made a company millions, if not billions, of dollars, and he doesn't he
That's
doesn't
messed
own
up.
it. So it's like, yeah, I don't have, like I said, I don't have any kind of fascination with action figures or models or statues, and that makes me very different from a lot of my contemporaries. Um, yeah, there are things people make me that I keep, like dolls and little statues that people have made. Like, I would feel quite bad throwing those out, so I don't do that. I have a nice drawer full of fun little keepsakes from people.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Um, yeah, I don't know. Maybe a fail-safe toy will be the thing that breaks me. Maybe I'll just be
I
like, oh,
hope
I
so.
gotta get 100 of these, and like my whole studio's just gonna be full of them. But yeah, I mean, I've got art, and I've got things people have given me. Um, yeah, but that's about it. And just some books. Like I get anxiety over having stuff. I don't like having stuff. I was saying to my wife earlier, I've got a closet here with all the comps that I get sent,
Mm.
and last year I made a decision just to not receive those anymore. They all go to my local comic shop, and they
Oh,
put
okay.
they put one aside for me, and then they sell the rest. Like, great, keep the shop going. Um, but I still have tons, especially from like my early days at Marvel or DC and Sex Criminals, where I would just accept all the books that they could send me. And I've got so many, I'm just like, I gotta find a place to get rid of them. Like, I
Yeah.
just can't. Like, I want to do like a local convention where I just set up like I'm a flea market, just like all these books, and I got my sunglasses on, like everything's set to go. Make me an offer. Send some
Yeah.
comics for
That's
$5. Like,
hilarious. Yeah, honestly, I feel you too because like my I love like buying comics and stuff, but like the boxes
yeah,
just stack on like they keep stacking and stacking, and it's like
yeah.
it does give me a little, and now like it's hard to walk like because it's
I know.
taking up
You
all
can
the
see
space.
you can see how hoarding happens, right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
just one
yeah.
more thing. What's wrong with one more
Yeah,
thing?
exactly. Yeah, that's why oh my goodness, like I just stop like buying extra cover, like even if I really like the cover, I'm like, dude, no. One
Yeah.
cover is all you need. Stop with all no.
I
Um
don't I mean, this is an incendiary thing to say, but if I buy single issues, I read them, I enjoy them, they go in the recycling.
Ben?
Yeah. Yeah, right after. I treat them like magazines or newspapers. You have a magazine kicking around for a little bit, and then you're like, oh, okay, yeah, it's time for it to go. That's what I do with single issues. It's rare I buy single issues, but like ultimately, I mean, sometimes I put them out if it's something that's appropriate. I
Yeah.
put them out on my curb, and people pick them up, and they'll go that way. Um, but yeah, single issues I feel just they're disposable, and I don't mind treating them that way.
Yeah. I mean,
Um, and then collections, those are the things I have on my bookshelf, and I've got a pretty hard rule of like one in, one out. If I buy something and I put on that shelf, something's got to go.
yeah.
So
I mean, that's responsibility. A lot of us comic fans, we don't have that. So I mean,
yeah, my dream is a studio where I've got like the built-in bookshelves with nice lights and stuff,
yeah,
and I can
awesome.
start to fill it with all the books that I want. But that's like a retirement project when I just want to catch up on reading all the comics that I didn't buy because I was just like, oh, I don't have space for them or money for them or whatever. Yeah,
Right. So like, I feel like we have to talk about Daredevil. While we're
you
here,
have to. You
because
have to.
yeah, because like when I was reading that series, like as it was going, like I loved it. It was also my favorite series at the time.
Oh,
But
awesome.
but when Batman came out, I forgot about Daredevil. Like that's how good Batman was. Like I didn't even care about Daredevil anymore. Like even now, like I forgot.
Wow.
I would just rereading a lot of your Daredevil, and I was like, dang, I forgot how good this was because I've just been so immersed in Batman. But yeah, so like it's great. But one of my favorite Daredevil issue that you did was ironically the last one.
Okay.
Because it's just so emotional. It's so special. Like Elektra as a character is handled like just beautifully. Like she's so
Oh man,
like
thanks.
she is phenomenal. And like that entire comic really tackles grief and like dealing with that, dealing with like losing someone. And the
Yeah.
conversation with Foggy and Reed Richards is so compelling. Like hearing, Reed talk about like how he'd see like he'd always see like his mom like wherever you go, like and how even Foggy and Cole Nort would see like Matt wherever to go. Like, is
Yeah.
there any like personal experience that like you drew from to tell such like compelling issue?
I drew it from a friend of mine who had that, who lost someone close to them, and like that was for them. It was the hardest part, like the fact that they just kept seeing the person everywhere,
Yeah.
um, just in the faces of other people, and like, um, yeah. And at first it was a hard thing, and then it became like a nice thing,
All
kind of the
right.
solace of like seeing someone who you loved represented in other people, because I mean. I mean, and I'm sure you've had this before too, where just like there's certain people in your life, like, oh, you just remind me of this person, or you remind me of that
Yeah.
person, and like, um, and I think there's a beauty in the fact that like there are traits of people that are replicated throughout humanity, and like, if someone you love is gone, like there's still the solace of like seeing them elsewhere in other people.
Yeah.
And sometimes the pain too, if you have a fraught relationship with somebody, like if someone was abusive to you and then they die, it's like you're not done with them, right? Like you'll still see them and other people as you kind of go through life, and that can be hard as well in a different way. um, yeah, I'm glad you like that issue. That was like a hard one to write, just because I'm wrapping up like 3-4 years or whatever Daredevil comics, and I kind of knew what I wanted to do a while ago on that. And I knew the last page, and everything else was kind of like I had to kind of reread my run just to just make sure I wanted to hit all the points
Right.
that I wanted to hit in that issue. But yeah, it was a special one for me.
Yeah, like the line where Reed like tells him like I think that's why we make art. Like it's so that like the people we love like continue to live. Like that hit like really deep because like I feel like that's really do like that really is why a lot of us like create,
Yeah,
art. Like whether it's like making videos, making comics, writing, poetry, music. It's how a
yeah,
lot of people like continue to live, literally, like how we still could connect with them. So that issue
yeah.
was just beautiful.
I did an issue that I got to write and draw, a Spectacular Spider-Man. It was my last issue on that series, and that was super special to me. But also because like I was able to, I don't know if you read it, but it was like the one where it's kind of like a documentary being done about Spider-Man. So a lot of like kind of people on the street, and a lot of those people are friends of mine. I just drew my friends in there, and like the
Wow.
first two people in it are my dad and my mom, and like
Wow.
I just set up some balloons. Um, uh, my dad and my mom, and like it was important for me to put them in that book because like they're getting up there. Like they're not going to be here much longer. My dad's like 77, and he's got health issues, um, and like one day they're going to be gone, but they're going to exist forever in that, right?
Yeah.
Like if anytime somebody brings that comic up to me at a show to sign it after my dad's gone, like it's going to be hard for me to sign that book. But also it's like a beautiful thing because because people and the people we love kind of carry on in art, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like it's so beautiful, man. Like I don't get that emotional when I read comics, but that one really like hit like deep. Like I love it so much.
Oh, cool.
And to kind of to kind of go on a slightly lighter subject, you've written Daredevil, you've written Spider-Man, you've written Batman.
Yeah.
I'm sure you could guess what I'm about to ask you.
Which character would I want to write next?
No.
No.
Who gets the most women out of the three? Because it's like I just want to listen. Before anyone watching this, do not argue with Chip Zdarsky. He has the final say on this. Okay, guys.
Well, I mean, first of all, Spider-Man's got a lot of kind of women kind of around him in life, but he's just not a guy who can seal the deal. He's just bad at it. like no matter how charming he can be sometimes, like he's always going to screw it up.
Right.
Batman is like, it's so secondary to him. Like
the mission.
Batman. I know he's all about the mission and stuff, and there's the stuff with Catwoman, and he's had some love interest in the past, but it's not his driving force. So I'd say his number count is quite low. Whereas Daredevil, my boy is a slut.
I'm like, thank you. I made a video saying this, and people were, no, Spider-Man has Black Cat. I'm like, man.
Yeah, he's got Black Cat. That's true, but Daredevil's like actively like, like I can't picture Peter Parker having a one night stand.
Yeah.
It would take him weeks before he got to second or third base. Whereas Matt Murdock, it's just like a couple drinks at the bar. I opened my Daredevil series.
Yeah, like dude,
like,
your
right
run
away.
Your run was my introduction to Daredevil, literally. So like when I first read it, I was like, wow, Matt Murdock is like this. Like it was. What's going on, everybody? This is your Chip Zdarsky interview. I just got done the interview literally like 5 minutes ago. I am so mad right now. The final 20 minutes of the interview got cut out, like it didn't record. I don't know why. Like the recording just abruptly ended about an hour into the interview. I am so angry. Most of the really juicy and fun topics we already got to discuss in the first hour. So like, I'm not that mad, but I'm still mad because we talked about some very good stuff at the end. To pretty much fill you in, we talked about the Batman continuity, like balancing the Batman books. And I actually thank Chip for his representation and putting Black characters in his stories, like Luke Cage becoming the mayor, Daniel Capcio, and the introduction of Cole Nort. From what I remember, that's all we talked about in that like 20 minutes, but I'm still so freaking mad, bro. I don't care if we didn't talk about anything, bro. He's Chip Zdarsky. Like, we could be talking about printers. I still want all of it to be recorded for you guys to see because it's my favorite writer. This interview means so much to me. I'm so happy that I got a chance to do it. I'm so freaking mad. Every interview that I've done, there's been some kind of problem. My first interview with Kenny Porter, my mic was horrible. My second interview with Tochi, the video, both of our faces didn't record. And now this, the final 20 minutes got cut. I'm so angry. Next time I need to record the actual like in meeting, whatever. Hope you guys enjoyed.